Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. So you guys probably know the next major update, Storm Warning, is just around the corner in War Thunder, and as such we already have the dev server readily available so we can take a look at all the vehicles, and that's exactly what I'll be doing in this video. I'll be showing you each and every vehicle currently available on the dev server so you can have a pretty good idea of what you can expect once this major update goes live. Now bear in mind that some of the vehicles that will be going live in the main update are currently not available in the dev server, and Gaijin, for whatever reason, just likes to surprise us. Also, some of the vehicles, like the stats and BRs, everything that you can imagine about the vehicles that are on the dev server, they're not completely finished or finalized, so bear that in mind as well. BRs can change, stats can change, this, that, and the other. Now, that being said, let's just kind of jump right into it with a surprise vehicle that will be a high-tier American premium, the RDF LT. This is just absolutely crazy to me. It's basically a premium, lighter version of the HSTVL, which is just crazy. It will have the same exact cannon, the XM274, but interestingly, this has 60 rounds of ammunition, whereas this only has 26. And all of those rounds of ammunition are linked directly to the gun, which means that you will basically be able to fire non-stop through your 60 rounds of ammunition, which is just bonkers to me. It has over 2 times the ammo capacity of the HSTVL, so this more or less kind of fixes that. However, it does have a weaker engine. It does weigh quite a bit less, but it does have a lower power to weight ratio overall, so we'll have to wait and see exactly how this thing functions when it comes to game. Otherwise, we also have the M44. This will be coming to a lot of tech trees. It's basically going to be like the lowest BR kind of derp HE gun, if you will. It fires the standard M107, which is kind of interesting in my opinion, but this is going to be coming to quite a few tech trees. Otherwise, the US does not get anything in the helicopter tech tree, nor, unfortunately, are they going to be getting anything in the air tech tree, which I know a lot of people were hoping to get the F-18, but unless something happens between now and release of this major update, it does not look like we are going to be getting it, but I could suspect maybe by next update. US also will not be getting anything in the Blue Water or Coastal Fleets. Now, bear in mind, when you see this thing that indicates that it's a new vehicle, the November and December updates are so close together that, as you can see when I'm looking at the Army tech tree, this is reading as the new vehicle. Even though it's not coming in the next major update, we have the T-77E1 and even the US Skink that are showing as new vehicles, even though they already came in the most recent update. So that's just kind of the breakneck speed that we're moving here. Now, going to Germany, interestingly enough, we have the M44 coming to Germany as a 4.0 BR vehicle, which I find extremely interesting because outside of, if I'm not mistaken, the Panzer 35T as well as the 38T and kind of the variants therein, in the regular tech tree, this is the only World War II kind of BR vehicle. Of course, it's a post-World War II vehicle, but it's the only one of that BR kind of bracket, so to speak, that you can get from another nation in the German ground tech tree. So I am extremely interested. That's, of course, not premium. So I'm extremely interested to see how this is going to kind of fit in with people's lineups, because I feel like it's going to be a very usable vehicle, especially around that BR, especially with that massive HE shell. Next up, we of course have the Panzerhaubitze 2000, a vehicle that a lot of people have been wanting. Now, interestingly, it does indicate, at least based on the picture here, that it will have thermals, but in practice, it only has night vision, so I'm not entirely sure exactly what it's going to have when it comes to the game. Again, dev server shenanigans, everything can change. It does have a laser rangefinder, which is very nice, and it does have actually quite a bit of composite armor around the back and also around the front, so hopefully it should be able to kind of defend itself well, but I'm assuming not. It's probably going to be a gigantic target. I mean, this thing is huge. Otherwise, we do also have the Strela coming to the German ground tech tree, but this is another vehicle that will be coming to a few tech trees with this next major update. Germany, unfortunately, will not be getting any helicopters either, but they are getting a very, very widely requested aircraft in the Eurofighter Typhoon, which is just completely crazy to me. Look how beautiful this thing looks. I'm just stoked. It will have access to AIM-9Lis. Now, before you guys say, oh, AIM-9Ls, they suck. Yeah, but these aren't really your standard AIM-9Ls. They do have IRCCM. So I don't believe that they're quite up to par with AIM-9Ms, for example, being that those have mostly smokeless motors, but the AIM-9Lis do have the IRCCM, which will help quite a bit. You also have, of course, the AIM-9, or AIM-120s rather, and you also have a bunch of Brimstone missiles, up to 18 of them, and you also have some LiDAMs and Paveway 4s, which, if I'm not mistaken, both have the ability to be either laser guided or GPS guided, so very, very cool. And it has a Lightning 3 targeting pod. So I'm really excited to see this thing in game. What a beautiful aircraft. And they are also getting the Z4 Zestorer, which is interesting because this reads as a 1960 modification on the stat card there, but it also has the German flag, or at least War Thunder's interpretation of the German flag from this era. So I'm not entirely sure what it's supposed to be, but that's just kind of a weird kind of thing that I noticed. Now, going to USSR, unfortunately, there's not really all too much that the USSR is going to be getting with this next major update outside of the BMD-4M, which is awesome, except for the fact that it is a premium vehicle. I really love the BMD-4. Like, this is one of my favorite vehicles in War Thunder, easily. Like, I love it, love it, love it. But the BMD-4M is a premium. I really wish that this would be in the regular ground tech tree. They need some sort of BMD in the tech tree. It just sucks that this is currently behind a paywall, and this is also behind a paywall, which is, just a damn shame. Otherwise, it is very similar to the BMD-4. It does have more horsepower, but it does weigh a touch more. But this is because it has the additional armor. I don't believe it has ERA on it. That's just kind of what they're calling it. Rather, it's got composite screens that will help to protect against things like HMGs and also autocannons in some instances. Now, Russia will not be getting anything in the air tech tree, or the helicopter tech tree rather, but they are getting something in the air tech tree, and this is another extremely questionable decision. The Su-33, but it's going to be a squadron vehicle. Now, I could understand the F-117 as a squadron vehicle because it's kind of a novelty aircraft with a very specific sort of purpose, but this really should have been, in my opinion, after the Ac-141. It makes very little sense for it to be a squadron vehicle, and it will have access to R-70 or R-27 ETs and ERs as well as R-73s, but will not have access to R-77s, which is also extremely interesting. A lot of people, I would assume, are not really going to be a big fan of that, but I believe that's a historical loadout, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's just a very controversial decision, in my opinion. I just wish that they had brought this into the regular air tech tree. It would have made a lot of sense, but for whatever reason, Gaijin has been on a squadron vehicle high over the last few weeks, over the last few updates rather, so seeing that just doesn't really surprise me, but it's kind of disappointing. They're also going to be getting the Archangelisk, which is interesting. It's basically just a British warship, battleship, but in the Russian Blue Water Fleet. And if I'm not mistaken, they're not going to be getting anything coastal. I believe that this was from the most recent update and not from this upcoming update. Now, going to Great Britain, they are also getting the M44, which I kind of find very interesting. But more interestingly, in my opinion at least, they are going to be getting the Strela from the Indians. So it's just a very interesting thing. The Strela is now a very spread around anti-aircraft vehicle, which I'm not really entirely sure how I feel about that. This is kind of a questionable update in my opinion, but hey, whatever. And then of course they're not getting any helicopters. I don't really think this update is really big on helicopters, at least just from what I had seen in not only the dev server live stream, but also in the dev server itself. And they are getting the Typhoon FGR-4, which should more or less be about the same as the German, except this is getting the AIM-9Ms instead of the AIM-9Lis. So theoretically speaking, this should be a bit better than the German vehicle, than the German variant, but I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be the case. We'll have to wait and see. but AIM-9Ms, again, are just a slight bit better. Now, they are also getting the HMS Rodney, which is pretty cool in my opinion. Very interesting looking vehicle, which has just 3 huge cannons right here on the front. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I want to see how that's going to function in War Thunder. Otherwise, I don't believe they're getting anything else when it comes to naval. Now, for Japan, they're also getting an M44. Like I said, M44s all around. We are now getting kind of the derp gun at low BRs, which is, again, kind of questionable for a lot of vehicles to be getting that, or a lot of nations to be getting that. But hey, you know what? We'll have to wait and see. That's just kind of how War Thunder has been trending as of recent. Now, when it comes to Japan, they are getting a whole bunch of new-ish aircraft in the Thai subtectory. That's right, we are getting the F-84 G21RE, which is pretty, understandable. That's a pretty decent enough ground strike aircraft. And of course, they're getting the Alpha Jet A, which is going to be interesting, but again, nothing that we haven't already seen. But they are getting the Alpha Jet TH, which I'm really interested in, because this will have 4 AIM-9 or AIM-9P4s rather, that are all aspect missiles, and this is going to be, at least as of current, it's showing as 10.3 VR. They are also getting the F5A, which is pretty much just the F5C, but we also have F5As in War Thunder, so I mean, it's just that. It will be getting the F5T SCU, which is kind of interesting, because it will only have access to AIM-9Ls and the Python 3s, but only 2 of them each, which I'm really kind of, unfortunately, I don't know if the right word is confused by, because the FCU has access to the Python 3 and AIM-9P4s, so you can have up to 4 missiles with that, but you can only have up to 2 missiles with the SCU. So we're going to have to wait and see if that changes or if that's accurate. I'm not entirely sure. They're also, of course, getting the A7E, the AVA-S late, which will basically be the standard AVA-S early, except with up to 4 AIM-9Ls, which is really, really cool. And then, of course, the F-16, or not the F-16AJ, rather, the F-16A OCU, which will have access to AIM-120 AMRAAMs, Python 3s, AIM-9Ms, and AIM-9Ls. So pick your poison. You will have access to a ton of awesome weapons. And, of course, the JAS-39C Gripen as well. That will have access to AIM-120Bs, AIM-9Ms, and also AIM-9Ls, on top of course, a ton of anti-ground ordnance. Now, I believe they're not getting anything when it comes to the naval, or at least when it comes to blue water. I believe that Murasame came in the most recent update and not in this current one. So that's pretty much it for Japan. Now, when it comes to China, they are getting something a little bit interesting here, at least in my opinion, because a lot of people are probably going to be pissed off by this. The HQ-17, that's right, it's basically the Tor, except with slightly better radar, and it has the ability to kind of track against a few other weapons, so to speak, or a few other sort of things. I think it can track more targets, and it can also go, like, it can track, like, bombs that are falling and whatnot. It does have the HQ-17 missiles, 42 Gs of overload, 8.16 grams of explosive filler equivalent, which is just gnarly. I think it's a little bit better than what we see with the 9M331, so it's just going to be a very, very good anti-aircraft setup, and China, of course, has access to it. Otherwise, no helicopters will be coming for the Chinese helicopter tech tree, nor will any sort of aircraft as well with this next major update. Now, Italy is going to be eating very, very well here. They are getting the Panzerhaubitze 2000 Hungarian edition, which is really, really cool. Currently, they don't have modeled, like, as you can see, there's no shells that are modeled in-game, but it will have access to a really, really cool camo net, which I'm actually really stoked for. So that's going to be an interesting vehicle, kind of like their version of the Vidar in a way. So I'm pretty stoked about that. And of course, they will also be getting another Strela, as you can see here, which, again, Strela's for everyone. M44's for everybody, and they're also getting an M44, speaking of, what is that, like the 4th one? And of course, Italy will also be getting their own Eurofighter Typhoon, the F2000A, as you can see here, and this will have access to your standard suite with the AIM-9Ms and the AIM-120Bs, as well as, of course, your Brimstones, your Lidams, your Paveway 4s, all of that. Otherwise, nothing for Blue Water and nothing for the Coastal Fleet as well. Now, when it comes to France, guess what they're getting? An M44. Again, M44s for everybody. This one is, of course, Belgian in nature, which is just great. I'm sure so many people are like, oh, man, I'm so glad for that M44. They're also getting the VBCI, which is very similar to the VBCI-2 MCT-30, except this, of course, has a 30mm cannon. This does not. It's got 25, and it does have a manned turret, whereas the MCT-30, if I'm not mistaken, does not have a manned turret. Correct me if I'm wrong. We'll go ahead and check. That's correct. So, yeah, just a little bit worse in some respects, but some people might find it to be a touch better as well. And they are getting the AH-64D, which is kind of interesting, as a premium attack helicopter at top tier, which I'm actually really, I'm not surprised by it because I did see it in the live stream. However, I am kind of interested by that. Now, they are getting, of course, the Rafale CF3R, which is, look how beautiful this thing is. Look at it. Look at it. It's just so nice. And it will have access to, at least as of current, and I believe there are going to be IR missiles that will be coming, but as of current, it only has access to up to 6 Mica EMs, which are amazing, amazing active radar homing missiles, but I believe it will be getting access to IR missiles as well. So again, dev server shenanigans. We can't just look at all this and kind of be like, oh, well, this sucks. Well, I think we're getting a little bit better. And of course, we will also have unique weapons here with the AASM 250s. Which will have different capabilities, but if I'm not mistaken, they are rocket assisted, which will provide a very long range of engagement with them. They will also be getting a light cruiser, the La Galissonière, if I'm not mistaken. I'm American, so forgive me for my ugly pronunciation. Now, Sweden will be getting the CV-90 Mark IV, which is kind of interesting in my opinion. It will have Spike ATGM's 30mm Bushmaster cannon, will be very powerful insofar as its engine is concerned. However, of course, also weighs a ton, quite a few tons as a matter of fact, and unfortunately they will not be getting any sort of aircraft in this update. Now, the last nation here, Israel, they will be getting no aircraft if I'm not mistaken, no helicopters. However, they will be getting a new namer. So this is basically just going to be an upgraded namer in that it does have a trophy system, active protective system. So, I mean, that's pretty cool in my opinion. Nothing all too crazy, but it will have the trophy. So if you really like how the namer functions, you're probably going to like how the namer Trishkon functions as well. But that's pretty much it, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know in the comments below if I missed anything that will be coming, at least that's currently visible on the dev server. We'll have to wait and see exactly what comes to the live server, but as of current, this is what we can see, and I'm sure even over the next few days we will be getting a few additions to the dev server. So if you guys want, definitely consider subscribing to my channel, as I will be publishing gameplay videos of these vehicles as I get the chance to. By the way, thanks for watching. I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.